So, I'm going to talk about Sonic Boom now.
Before I do, I feel like I need to get the elephant out of the room.
Because, yes, we all know that the game this is based on is really bad. Like, worse than Sonic 06 in some people's eyes, and in most other people's eyes, comparable to Sonic 06 at the very least. However, we should not be judging the cartoon based on its connected media's quality. I mean, after all, Legend of Zelda had a cartoon, and it did not live up to the games. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to not judge it based on its connected media.
I'm going to be reviewing the episode Translate This since it introduces as many of the characters as possible.
Even though in reality it's the third episode rather than what I'd normally do by reviewing the first episode. And I do need to talk about this. It's not really a condemnation of the episode. It's just a talk about, like, you know, the way they present things. I played that title card for much longer than the original episode did. Like, the original episode had it up for like a second. It's very easy to miss if you're just casually watching the episode. You know, I'm not asking for like anything super flashy or anything like that. Not at all. But, you know, maybe a little bit more effort on a title card than that. That's just me, though.
We start with a brief scene of levity with most of the characters just relaxing.
And in this first scene, we do learn something about Styx the raccoon, I guess? They never really specify.
Her talking about never being stress-free and jumping at Tails' introduction to the scene shows that she's high-strung.
Although the animation at this particular reaction comes off a bit stilted to me. I mean, it's not like it's off model or anything, it just seems like the delay to the shriek sort of makes it feel fake. Let's go with fake.
So Tails has a universal translator robot.
And part of the reason this episode does such a good job of explaining some of the personalities of the characters is because of the unintended extra feature of the robot.
Namely the fact that it translates the thoughts of someone if that person is speaking English.
Which leads to a bit of wackiness that tells us some things about the characters. I mean, first of all, we already know Tails is an inventor, mechanic person, because, you know, he made the thing.
UT winds up translating how superficial Amy can be.
Which is kind of how the conflict of this scene starts up.
Styx also gets another comedic moment where UT literally repeats what she said.
So remember, UT translates what someone says into what they're actually thinking with that statement. So, you know, in reality, it just kind of shows how little of a mental filter Styx has.
Knuckles winds up thinking that Styx is crazy. Sonic gets caught thinking that Knuckles is stupid.
Which prompts the transition into turning the thing off and also displays that, well, that's probably just kind of how it is in this series. Even if Knuckles isn't like outright stupid in this show, he's definitely less intelligent than some of the other characters. Maybe him and Styx are closer to the same level, maybe not. I don't really know, just from one episode. In fact, I would say that the character that we learn the least about is Sonic, and he's the one with his name in the title.
Turns out Eggman was spying on them, though, and plans to replace it with an evil duplicate.
And it's at the end of this short little scene that we get a hint of something that I've heard some people compliment the second season of this show for.
Don't laugh with me, you're ruining it.
Self-awareness. Okay, granted, the villain telling people who are laughing with him to stop laughing with him is so much of a way to address such a cliche that it's kind of become a cliche in and of itself. But, you know, it at least shows effort to keep sort of a lighthearted tone to the proceedings.
So we do get a scene that shows the switch happen.
And it's nice to know that we're watching a show that has the right pacing for this to not feel repetitive or unnecessary. The inflection in Tails' voice shows kind of how disappointed he really is, and also serves to highlight the motivations for his later actions.
So Tails turns up with the copy, and it starts with the insults right out of the gate.
And there's something in here that I really didn't like.
Sure you didn't.
I'm stupid.
Hey, I'm not stupid.
Okay, call this small if you want, I don't really care, but who the fuck would believe that Knuckles was calling himself stupid?
When the faker tries to say that Knuckles insulted Styx, though, Styx tries to break Knuckles' neck.
Seriously, the only way I can interpret that animation is Styx trying to break Knuckles' neck. I thought this was Y7.
We see Eggman shift his focus to self-glorification through UT.
And although it's not the most creative thing in the world, I think it works well.
After that, Tails figures out that UT isn't even good enough to be his fake.
This is kind of the turning point where the episode gets a lot more interesting for me.
Because Tails wants to save the real UT, and the other characters, nope, don't.
And the motivations for both of these actions have already been established, so good job.
Tails sneaks onto Eggman's base and confronts Eggman himself.
And Tails' plan is so clever, it's kinda sorta the real reason I wanted to cover this episode in particular.
Tails exchanges his own service as Dr. Eggman's lab assistant for the release of UT.
But of course, Eggman realizes that Sonic is likely to rescue him, so Tails sends a message back with UT to not rescue him. At this point, though, I realize what's going on, and I can't help but note how clever this was written.
UT plays Tails' message and then translates it into what it's intended to mean.
Which does two things. First of all, it actually shows the group how useful UT is. And the second thing it does is lull Eggman into a false sense of security.
Sonic and the gang do arrive before Eggman has the contract ready.
So we can certainly say that Tails' plan worked on one front, at least.
The action animation in this show is decent enough.
Although admittedly, I think this could have been done with a faster pace in mind. This is kind of Sonic we're talking about after all. But one thing worth noting is the fact that they choreographed this fight really well. They have a few creative things going on in it. And, you know, they also do a good job of keeping the right amount of tension throughout the fight.
As neat as hitting the bomb back at the robot was, though, I do feel like this fight was a bit of an afterthought.
And yes, I know, I just said that they did a good job with the choreography, but that doesn't mean that it fits in this episode. But then again, that may just be the nature of this episode, for it to not really be combat-oriented.
So everybody seems fine with the robot sticking around.
Except Styx, who chucks the thing in the fucking ocean. And then the episode just kind of ends. Like, literally, just kind of ends right there. You know, normally I'm one for these sort of humorous anticlimaxes, but I'll be honest, I don't feel like this was humorous enough for a humorous anticlimax. This show is interesting. There's some clever adventure writing going on here, but at the same time, it's also a bit boring, a bit, you know, run-of-the-mill. So, you know, it kind of falls in the camp of sort of being right there in the middle of you know, definitely something that I'm willing to watch, definitely something that, you know, I don't have a big problem with, but at the same time, it's just not, it's okay. It's not good, it's not great, but it's okay. It's not okay in a bad sense either, though. It's not like poor or bad or awful, nothing like that. It's kind of right in the middle. It's something that I definitely watch. Like I said, there's some clever adventure writing going on, stuff that definitely piques my interest a little bit, but not really enough for me to make this a full-on recommendation. I'm not really interested enough to, you know, review every episode of this show, but I don't know. Depending on the reception this video gets, I might review more than one.